Cool. So just by way of introduction and scene setting, so this is the team. So we've got a number of kind of fresh faces on here as well, but I'd just like to kind of plant the seed in terms of who we are, and what we do. And you see Matt, there's the BI lead, Mark's a delivery manager, and yeah, you can see everybody else for yourself. I don't need to take you through them one by one. So just in terms of service landscape, so what we do, we're a Microsoft implementation partner at heart, but we specialize in Power BI, Power Apps, and Project. So Project for the web and Project online as well. And even Microsoft Project, we do some solutions using Microsoft Project Desktop. But with all those things, we have to kind of, all these projects we're delivering, we have to have expertise and skills in SharePoint, in Power Automate, Dynamics 365, Teams, all those other services that go across the Microsoft technology stack, really. And then we offer a support partnership approach as well. So if you need Power Apps being built, 10 days a month of Power App development or 5 days a month of Power BI development, we offer a support partnership approach as well, whereby not actually delivering specific projects, but delivering a longer term capability to help you utilize Microsoft 365 to its fullest extent. So what I'm going to do now, if we go to the next slide, thanks Matt, is just to summarize the kind of 3 core products that we offer and what they are, what they do. Matt's going to touch on this later on today. So Project Online is a portfolio management solution. It's actually a bit of a cheat here because we've got a bit of Power Apps and Power BI in the same image there, but effectively it's a portfolio management solution that you can use across your enterprise to deliver projects, capturing risks, issues, using the schedule tool to build Gantt charts and build dependencies, and then using Power BI then to visualize on that iPad there. You can see there's a visualization of the portfolio in this example. All right, next slide, Matt. So Power Apps, a lot of people talk about Power Apps and some people think that it's just a mobile solution, but actually I wanted to show you that this is a kind of desktop solution. So this is a model-driven Power App. It's very systematic, as you can see here. So this is an innovation kind of hub or an ideas portal as an example, but we build lots of these Power Apps now, more prevalent really than anything else that we're doing. And we have the ability to build low-code, no-code applications using Microsoft 365. So anything from grant application systems to idea kind of forums and systems through to HR systems. It really is as big as the idea that's created in order to that we deliver against. So yeah, really exciting stuff, and this is the next kind of biggest thing from Microsoft and where they're going in the future. Power BI, so we're going to talk about this a lot today. So Power BI is a data visualization tool. Matt's going to take you through this in more detail and how you could connect this to multiple data sources. But it's available within Microsoft 365. If you're an E5 user, it's free of charge. If you're not an E5 user, then you need to pay a small fee for accessing the service. But it's a really great, dynamic and interactive visual reporting service. And Matt will come on to show you a bit more detail later on. Matt, next slide, please, mate. So just a quick snippet of who we are and what we work with, and who we work with, sorry. So Bays is one of our biggest clients, IPO. We also work with ONS as well, and Betty's and Taylor. So we're predominantly public sector, just naturally, more than anything else. But we do work with private sector clients as well. But we just wanted to set the scene on some of the kind of clients that we're working with at the moment, really. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for joining. This session is recorded, so if you want to watch this back or follow Matt along in your own environment and then watch it back, it will be on YouTube, and we will publish it on YouTube for you to kind of look back and dive into more detail. But thank you very much for joining, and what we'll do is have questions at the end of the session. Yeah. And we tend to turn off the recording at the end of the session and then allow you to kind of ask your questions and open the floor to dialogue, and we look forward to that. So without further ado, Matt, over to you. Thank you, everybody.
Cheers, Joel. So as Joel was saying, yep, I'm BI lead here at iCoTech. I've been working in the BI space, data space as such, for a number of years now. A lot of different industries. I was, before joining iCoTech, primarily a contractor, so a gun for hire as such. going into organizations and helping them with their data problems and building solutions that were bespoke to them. So my role here at iCoTech, I kind of bring together the requirements and the needs of our customers or whoever it is, or clients that we're talking to, and give them a kind of like a roadmap for where we're going to take the BI, where we're going to take the reporting, and how that would fit into their current business processes. It's not a case of me changing their business processes. It's a case of making sure that it works for them in a way that they work. So, you know, if you've got a particular problem that you need assistance with, certain reporting on with, then, you know, give us a call. So what I'm going to do today is take you through, as Joel said, the project portfolio and how to connect that to Microsoft Power BI. There are a number of different project portfolio management tools out on the market. Today, we're going to really mainly be concerned with Project Online. As you may or may not have used this in the past, but obviously Microsoft Project, Microsoft Project Online, and Project for the Web are kind of key in the PPM space in terms of being able to maintain projects, monitor them, and report easily on them. There are others, as I said, as you can see on the slide. We've got things like Smartsheet, which can be set up and can be put together for an organization or a business into very finite details, or most organizations will be sat on the Microsoft as a Microsoft house. So you'll most probably be aware of Microsoft Excel. Now obviously this is a very basic tool in terms of project portfolio management, but it can be set up very quickly in order to start monitoring or doing basic monitoring of your project. So that's why a lot of businesses may start out with Excel and then move to something like Microsoft Project in the long term. So Microsoft Power BI, how does that kind of fit in? So if you're not aware or you haven't seen Power BI, it is basically a data visualization tool at core. And it enables users, as you can see, to create, pretty clear and concise data visualizations that make understanding the facts a lot easier. It's a very it's kind of a buzzword at the moment in most organizations and most business parties where you want to be making decisions based on data, based on the actionable insight, and this is where Power BI comes into its own. You may already have all this information stored in your portfolio service, but you may not be seeing the full picture because you're not able to compare and contrast project to project as such and so forth. So that's where something like Power BI comes in handy to enable you to do this. So what I'll be showing you today is how to actually connect Power BI to your Microsoft Project Online instance. There are a number of changes that are actually currently happening as we speak with Power BI in terms of the way it looks, the way it connects to different areas, but the basic premise of connecting to Microsoft Project is staying the same. Microsoft Project, Project Online, and Project for the Web, they all have the same core Microsoft backbone as such, and as such that's all going to be pretty much staying the same and being a core element for you. So what I'll do, I'll take you through how to do it, and then I'll show you how to do it, and then after that I'll show you how to edit a few of the reports to give you some more insights, give you a little bit more information into the projects and how you can compare that project information with maybe project information you've got stored elsewhere, and how you would go about bringing that information in. So when you initially go into the Office portal, so in most instances that would be going to the URL, which would be portal.office.com, and that would you log in with your Microsoft account, and you'll see the hamburger or the ellipsis or whatever you would like to call these 9 dots on the left here. Once you click on them, you will see, if you have available to you, the list of apps that you've got. So one of them should be Power BI. When you first go into Power BI, you'll be welcomed with a home screen. And again, I'll take you through all of this in a live environment shortly. And In order then to add what we call an app, it's not actually an app in the true sense of the word. What we're adding today is going to be a connector. So it's almost like the translation tool between your Microsoft Project Online environment and your Power BI visualization environment. So those two bits are separate, but they need something in order to kind of connect them, almost like that in universal translator in Star Trek. I don't know if you any Trekkies on the call, but hey. So once you've gone into Power BI and you've clicked on the Get Apps button, it'll bring you to this next area, which is the App Source or the App Store, as it's currently being rebranded. It's very simple to find the Microsoft Project web app tool just by typing project in the search bar. It will come up. If your organization already has or has been using Project Web App, maybe in a different department or different area that you haven't got, you will also see these pop up here then as well. You may not have access to them, but they'll be listed there as pre-download. So what you'll see today will be the actual new Project Web App connector that I will connect to, but also from the last webinar that I did, I'm using the same environment. You'll see that one sat there as a download that my organization already has. This is what you're looking for, a Microsoft Project Web App connector. All you do when you see this, you click on it with the left mouse button, and it will take you to a page and ask you if you want to get this now. You just click it, and it's in the store. Now, there's some key information that you will need in order for it to connect to your project environment. Now, obviously the key bits of this, or the things you will need, will be where is your project environment, and what is it stored on, and and so forth. So Microsoft Project Online, it has the domain name is connected to your tenant. So when you're in Project Online, the URL at the top, the bit that goes right up to the site/PWA, if you haven't changed that, that will be your address. So I'll show you that now, but this is the next slide that will ask you is how to connect to your data. So once you've clicked connect here, this window will pop up, and as I was mentioning before, your PWA, so that's your project web app. This is where your projects are stored within the web app of Project Online. The address that you need is everything right up until your PWA. Now, I'm saying PWA, but if your organization are using Project Online, it could well be that they've changed this default name, which is PWA, to something else. So you will need to change that to whatever your organization are using. Once you've clicked that, it will go off and download and update a lot of Power BI content. This content will then be available to you straight away, and then you can start actually looking at those visuals and how to get into them. So what I'll do now, I'll take you through this process online. So this is, if you want to make notes or whatever, or even do it along next to me as well, then that's great. That's the way I kind of learn, is by going to webinars and so forth, and then actually doing while someone else is doing it. So here I am in Power BI. This is the welcome screen. At the moment, this is our test environment. So what you can see here, you can see, good afternoon, MOD. That's not my name. My name is Matthew, by the way. I'm sure you know that already. But when you go into Power BI, you will see, your name and whatever. So, as I said, from the instructions, this is where we're going to go. So on your left-hand side, you'll see a number of different options here. So what you want to do, you want to click on the Apps button. Now, it's not strictly an app that we are getting. It is a connector. So over to your right, then you see the Get Apps button. So what we'll do, we'll left click on there, and that brings us into the store. This is the Power BI store. So you can see that it's not just Project Online and Microsoft tools that Project will actually connect to. There's a whole host of other connectors that will connect into Power BI. So all these different apps, and if you look at how small this scroll bar is to the right of the cursor, you can see that this page will actually go on for quite a way. So these are connectors. Not every tool or every database that you use will need a connector. So these are just ones that have been set up as templates by Microsoft or by their partners in order for you to gain access to not only an easy way to connect to the information, but to, I suppose, pre-qualified reporting examples and samples as well. So we're looking for the Microsoft project for the web connector. So I'm going to go to the search bar and I'm going to type in project. And what comes up here, these are all the connectors that have the word project in, as you would imagine. This is the first one we're after, Microsoft project. So I've left clicked on there. And this takes us to, the description of what it is you're about to install, gives you a bit of blurb about what it is and what it actually works with. So this is this is the Power BI app, as it says here. The pricing, which is always good, it's free. Now, as I said, if you want to install it, you hit this Get It Now button. So this is where you left click on there, and it goes off and starts adding the information to your Power BI install. Now, this is one of the things that's changed at the moment with Microsoft Power BI. This is what you would normally have to do is create a workspace. So a workspace is a collection of reports and dashboards and data sets that are maybe your finance department will have, or your HR department, but they will all have their own separate workspace and their own separate reports in. Normally you would create that first and then add the app to it, but now you can add the app and create the workspace in one go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to call this Power BI webinar. Yes, make it look nice. And all I have to do is install. Now, this, as you can see on the top right, it says it's installing an app. If I go back home here, the left mouse button, I've got this list of workspaces, and you can see on the right, my app is ready. So app Power BI webinar has been successfully installed. Now, there's two ways to get to it. I could have either clicked that Go to App button on the right that popped up, or I expand my workspaces window here, and I find the workspace that I want. And this is it. This is the Power BI webinar. Now, one thing it will tell you, or show you straight away, is that at the moment, this app and all the reports in here are looking at sample data, because we have yet to connect this to our Project Online workspace. So first things first is to connect it. So a left click on Connect Your Data brings up this little window that we would have seen in the slides. Now, as this is a test environment, I can never quite remember my login, my URL part here. So I've got my URL stored on a notepad. It's always good to utilize some of the classic apps within Windows. Notepad is one of those for me. I've just lost my window. There we go. So all I'm doing is pasting. As you can see, we've still kept the default PWA in our test environment here. So you paste that in and you hit next. And all it's doing then is checking your credentials. Now, as this is Office 365 and it's all online, one of the best ways of connecting would be using OAuth2, and we want to keep this within the organization. So we're not going to go and make it public. This is going to be something that's going to keep all of our data within our organizational tenants. So we'll sign in. This is my login. So for you, that would pop up with your actually your Windows login, and it would just be a case of, yes, this is what the login I want to do. This is what I want to use, and it will go away. So what you can see now is the little progress wheel going around saying that it's actually updating the data, and all that is doing, that's going off to our project center. So while it's doing that, I'll go to project center. So in terms of Microsoft Project itself, this will be the project center. This is our test environment. So we have lots of projects assigned in here to different areas and to different groups, all at different project phases as well. Where within this, we could create new projects, we can update information. It's as far as PPM goes in portfolio management, I really do like using Project Online, and also obviously Microsoft Project, as it were, because it's clear. It's an easy way to kind of see what's due to happen, when it's happening, if it's happening on time or not, and it all fits together nicely in a nice kind of like wrapped up way. And I suppose if we've got lots of project managers or PMO staff on the call today, then you'll have your own favorite way of working with projects and the like. But again, with Project Online, like going to Blue Yonder airline, we can see that the project request, the status is complete, but the schedule, so there's no schedule being generated for us at the moment, but it's currently in the request and review period or workflow part. Now, if I go back to the Power BI environment at the moment, so this other tab here, you can still see it's saying refresh is in progress. There you go, perfect timing. So what we've got now, we've actually got a Microsoft Project web app data set. So that's our data that is held within Microsoft Project. It's made a copy and it's brought it across to Power BI. But we also have then a report. Now this report, if I go into it, has multiple pages. I think it's 13 different tabs of information. You can see the different types of counts. Let me make this a little bit bigger so it's let's move that across there. Yeah, there we go. Right, so obviously there's our Blue Yonder airline flight rewards system integration project. And so all of these projects, again, all this information has been brought through from Project Online, as you would imagine. So what we're looking at here is our top level portfolio dashboard. Everything is filterable. No matter what kind of field it is, you can create a filter for that within Power BI. And again, I will show you that a little bit later on, and how we would maybe customize some of this or connect it to different data sources. So if I was to look for a particular project type, let's go to infrastructure. These are our infrastructure projects. These are the ones that fall into this area, and you can see that we've got one. We've got one of them here in the proposal area, and we've got two others here in execution. And it's very easy to quickly flip between different areas and different reporting views as well. So this is the portfolio dashboard. We have the timeline, and again, you can see it's set up in a way that is standard across this like data set, or this reporting data set. If I go into, which one should I go into? I think it'd be the project owner. I see. Right. So here we go. Right. So the reason the information wasn't coming up then is that I hadn't actually selected anything within the date range. It's always good to make sure you know how these reports work before doing a webinar. If we go on to portfolio costs, here we are. We have like all the finance information about our projects or our top projects. Now, again, depending on the way that your business works, it could well be that you're not concerned with, top project costs, or your baseline percentages and ratios are different. Again, these can be changed within Power BI desktop. A lot of this can actually also be changed within the Power BI service that I'm showing you as well. Well, as you can see, we've got our milestone reporting here. We have risks reporting and issues, all of which, and all these visuals are interactive. So no matter where you click, when you click on it, it will filter that information based on what you've selected. So you can turn them off if you want, but the beauty of Power BI and the visuals is that it makes it easier for you to get to the information you want quickly. So we have resource reporting as well in terms of our demand and availability. So you can see that in certain areas we're grossly under or overutilized. So Lydia here has pretty much been maxed out for the entirety of her year on this. So it would be good to give her a bit of a break in certain areas. Again, our overview of our resources, where they are, where they, what's our project team made up of. So this can be grouped by department. You can even bring in the project information. So on this project, this is who we've got as our project team, which will be something like this. We also have the project status reports and also a kind of like a project risk and issues dashboard. Now these ones haven't been set up as default by Microsoft because what we have here is the project status and also the project risk and issues board to a certain extent have been superseded by our project report and portfolio reporting as well. So they can be updated. We can push data back out to them to show that. And again, this is something that can either be done in a desktop or can be done live within your environment. If I take you back then to the workspace, just so you can see what I mean, what you have here is the data set, or we have the report here. So what I can do with this data set, I can open up this information. Let's go back here. There we go. So we have a list of data sets here. So I can click on this data set, and what it will do, all of the projects for the web tables or the projects online tables have been brought through on your right hand side, ready for you to start creating reports or visuals for them. This is a very what we're looking at here is an easy way to bring information in. There may be a certain report or a certain dashboard or monthly reporting that will be used in your organization that we would want to see generated in reports of this kind. Now, I'm not going to go in and start making reports in here and creating them. What I'll do is show you how to connect the content pack to your Power BI desktop environment. Now, it is done in pretty much the same way, but then within the desktop environment, you have much more, many more features for you to be able to actually create more visuals, for you to be able to generate more bespoke reporting, but also to enable you to edit the main content pack, the main report that we're seeing here. This is something that's been put in as a template, and the best way to actually get this across and the best way to actually get this edited is within the Power BI desktop. So if I go to Power BI desktop here, what we have, what I've downloaded is the content pack from Microsoft. So when you go to the Microsoft page, you can actually pull down the project for the web content pack. So what I'll do here now, I'll show you how to open up that report and actually then start editing that information. So I've got the content pack here. Let's get a template form. Here we go. This is our iCoTech one. What this will do, this will open up, and the first thing I'll do is ask you again for your project data. Where is your project data stored? This is the same URL as before. It's the same area. Okay, this is where we, this is where we keep it. All you do then, you hit load. And what this will do, it'll go off to your project data source and start refreshing the data there. Now, while it's doing that, I mentioned earlier that you can connect multiple data sources to multiple data sources that hold in your project information or your portfolio information to Power BI. Now, you're not restricted to just Microsoft tools. You're not restricted just to things like Excel or SharePoint. As you can see in the top left, we do have Excel here for data. We've also got Power BI data sets, so you can actually use Power BI data sets from other reports and bring them in. For those of you who are storing your information within a SQL environment or database or SQL database environment, you can connect straight to it that way as well. But as well as that, we do have available to us a host of other data sources. So it's not just Microsoft. So once this pulls this information down, I'll be able to show you those are the data sources and how you would go about bringing that information in, into this and bringing it into the same report as well, because it could well be that you're currently using Excel but half of the organization is using Project Online, but you don't want to migrate all of the Excel stored projects over into Project Online, but you still want to report on them. So that's where you would bring in the extra data source and make it part of the portfolio that you're actually reporting on. So here we have, as in the Power BI tab, we've got the reports, and all of those other reports or those tabs or pages are all lined up along the bottom here, so all 13 of them. Now within Power BI Desktop, we can edit, we can change the look and feel, we can do a whole host of things. So obviously just now I was talking about the data sources and how we would connect to them. So what I have here is clicking on Get Data in the top left, part of the data window or pane, and then I can click More on here, and now you'll be able to see the types of data solutions that you can actually pull in. There's a whole host, as I say, I'm not going to go through all of them, but plain text files, XML, PDFs, should you want to be pulling information from PDF documents as well, SharePoint, SQL databases, Oracle databases. For those of you who are using Primavera or P6, that sits on an Oracle database predominantly. It can be set up on a SQL server, but I think the main install and the main base would actually be Oracle. So if you were using Primavera, you would open up the Oracle area here, and within this, we're not using Oracle here. Within this, then you would actually have to put in the base Oracle database server details, and then you would hit import. Now there are two ways, this like connectivity mode here, there are two ways of pulling that information in. You've got the import and direct query. Now import means that it copies everything from your P6 environment and brings it across and keeps it in the desktop, and every time that data refreshes, it copies everything again and then overwrites what's already in your Power BI desktop report. Or there's direct query. Now direct query is a little different in the fact that you're telling Power BI where the data is, but Power BI will only go and get the data when it's called. So if you've got a visual that like this visual here, which you're looking at your project information, and you want to refresh this, it will then, when you click on like demo test, it will then run the query to work out what it needs to filter, and then it will populate. So it does work a little slower, but the benefit is the benefit of that is you haven't got everything stored in all your data stored in the Power BI file itself. But what you downside to that is that if you've got multiple projects with multiple project managers and team leaders and a whole host of different PMO environments, every time they're clicking on something, it's a call then to your data, which then could have a detrimental effect on the source data and pulling that in. So what we're doing here with Project Online and Microsoft Project is the import method, because what you get, the data can be imported overnight. It can then be run at intervals throughout the day and update your reports that way, still giving you good visibility and the availability of information quickly and without the need for delays or holding up other sources. So I talked about the reports and how they fit together, and there's different ways of working in terms of how organizations actually look at their reports. So if you wanted to create a portfolio report that was going to the board or something like that, you would have set records or set KPIs that you would want to see in there. So it may not be, you may not be looking at project cost or the project count. You might be looking at, you might only want to count projects that are within a certain type or within a certain RAG status as such. So this is where you can start customizing things. So if I was to go into our project count here, you can see the filters here. The filters on this is counting everything, but we can add from our project data set any of these other extra parts here that we want to look at. So we could even bring in certain elements that we would report on. So let's say the project status, or let's see something we can see on the screen here. So we've got cost health here. So what I could do, I could have a look at the health information here. So the cost health, drop left click and then drag it across to the filter area and just drop it in there. What we've got here, because we're using icons, it will actually filter down on those icons. So I can say, right, I want to see everything that hasn't got a cost tab attributed to it. So that's the gray in this area. And you can see straight away on the left, it's altered this project count to be 46. So it's just a very basic and quick example of how you can make small changes to this, and they can make a big difference in your reporting based on how your organization or how your business actually use or wants to consume this as well. As I said, all of those other reports that are in the Power BI environment are available here. The timeline, the costings and milestones, everything is here, and everything is freely editable in here and then can be published back to the Power BI environment. Now, to publish any of your changes back to the environment, a top tip to remember is when you publish a report, and I'll quickly show you how to do that. When you publish a report back to Power BI, it keeps the current state of that report in memory. So if I was to publish now in this area, when you go to the report, this would be the first page you see. And obviously what we will want to do, we want to keep the portfolio dashboard at the top level. So just a little reminder there for you for when you're publishing. So at the top here, we have a publish button and left click. Ask if you want to save changes. So I haven't really made any changes to this, but as this is a new report and it's just come from a template, I'm going to have to give it a name anyway, because this is, it's a new setup. Let's call it report 2 just to differentiate it. So when you click publish, you get access, or you get asked then by Power BI which workspace you'd want to put this into. So earlier on, we created the Power BI portfolio webinar workspace. So this is the area where we connected our data to in the first place. So we've already got this dashboard already set up in there. But just to show you how to get your report into a workspace, I've left click on that area. You can see it's grayed now, it's selected. And I'll just hit select. And what this does, it sends this in its current state up to the Power BI service. And once it's there, it should give me a success button, success window, and you can go and see where it is. So I can open that now. Let's open the wrong one. So I will go to here. Right, so now if I go to the workspaces, it's the Power BI portfolio webinar. And here we have our Power BI webinar report 2 is sat there. So this is the report that was just in Power BI desktop. And again, it's been made available to us now to view. Now, one of the good things about publishing a report from Power BI desktop up to the service is that you can now edit this report in the service here as well as Power BI desktop. The information you would have, or the reports and the tabs you would get from the content pack, not all of them are editable straight in here without first publishing back. So again, we could, if it was, oh yes, we did want that icon or the project cost to show us something else, then you can quickly go in, make the change, and then save it. And you're not saving it for yourself, you're saving it for everyone who has access to this report. Okay. In terms of connecting and pulling information into Power BI via different sources or reporting on them, there's not much else that we can, I suppose, not much else that we can't connect in, because one of the key elements, or one of the key connectors that we can actually pull in from Power BI is actually the blank query. So if you don't see your data source held within here, or any of these connectors, again, we could be scrolling forever, but if I go right down to the bottom, what you'll see is the blank query one. So this is where if you've got data that's or Power BI or project portfolio information stored in an environment that I haven't mentioned today, or you think, oh well, we've got it in a really old archaic system that we want to try and migrate through. This is where we would use something like blank query to I suppose interrogate that raw information at the back and then bring out that core information into Power BI. That's the last thing I can say on Power BI is that it is a very, very powerful tool, and it gives you the tools required in order for you to be more efficient in your work. So I've used Power BI now extensively now for the past, I'd say, 6 years now, just with Power BI. And it's evolving so much so that it's now taken over in certain areas where I would normally go towards a Tableau environment or a ClickView environment. Power BI is quickly becoming the go-to tool to have, not just for portfolio reporting, but for visualizations and data manipulation in its own right. I suppose that's the end of my kind of bit on Power BI. As Joel mentioned earlier, we can open it up for some questions.